In the modern era of the entertainment industry, whenever there's a big project announced that is attached to a franchise or a popular IP that goes back decades and decades and has fans all around the world, people get a little bit hesitant because, of course, they want to see a great adaptation of something that they love, but they don't want it to get the modern Hollywood treatment. So when Netflix announced that they had acquired the rights to the Chronicles of Narnia and were interested in doing a Chronicles of Narnia series, people rightfully were a little bit hesitant. They were wondering whether it was going to get the same treatment as some of these other beloved IPs that have been acquired and bastardized over recent years. And when it was announced that Greta Gerwig would be attached to this project, people were a little more worried as well. And it's not because Greta Gerwig isn't an accomplished filmmaker, but when you look at her movies that she's made, all of them are very, very focused on women. Not only women in the stories, but also women as the target audience, the target demographic. And she's had a lot of success with that, but is this the right person to do Chronicles of Narnia, a beloved tale? I would say, C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia has to be up there with one of the most revered works of fiction in the 20th century. I don't think that's a stretch. And of course, people have tried before. We saw the movies that came along almost 20 years ago at this point when they started doing those, and some of them were better than others, but now this had a lot of people shaking their heads, wondering, hey, is the White Witch going to really just be a sympathetic villain? And we learn about her story and why she's actually doing all of these evil, terrible things. It's not because she's actually evil. Someone else made her do it. These are the questions that roll around in people's heads when things like this get announced. But it's been a while since we got that update, and when asked about it, Amy Pascal, who is overseeing this, said some very troubling things. Greta Gerwig's Narnia film begins filming in July of 2025. It's a very new take. It's all about rock and roll, says Amy Pascal. A very new take and all about rock and roll. I don't know exactly how that's going to translate. That's the last thing that people who read this when they were growing up or people who are attached to these books, that's the last thing that you want to hear. That one, it's a very new take and somehow it's all about rock and roll. And we have the video clip here I can show you. She doesn't say too much about it. Amy Pascal's kind of a fucking weirdo in her own right, to be honest with you, but let's listen to her response to this.
Yeah.
And how's Narnia? Has she been shooting that already?
No, we start shooting in July.
I didn't think so, yeah, because I talked to her. She got on a big award or something, and she was talking about it. But that's a new take on Narnia? Or?
A very new take on Narnia. It's all about rock and roll.
Wow, okay. How about Greta Gerwig?
I don't know if he just didn't know really how else to respond to that. And they talk about Greta Gerwig a little bit. And like I said, Greta Gerwig, obviously, Barbie, her most recent massive success when it comes to box office, when it comes to critics praising it, all of those things. When it comes to the target audience liking that movie, not exactly a movie that was made for me, certainly. When you look at her three movies that she's done, that she's wrote and directed, Lady Bird, Little Women, and Barbie, there's a very heavy theme there in the things that she makes and who it appeals to. And one of the films she's attached to, not as a director for sure, but as a writer, is still yet to be released, and that is Disney's Snow White. Rachel Zegler's Snow White live-action bastardization, which looks to be an incoming flop. We've already been told everything that they're changing about the original for the modern day. I don't know if that's the right person for Narnia. And a lot of people don't think that's the right person to adapt Chronicles of Narnia, especially if apparently you're going for this whole new take, a very new take on Narnia that's all about rock and roll somehow. I don't know how you look at C.S. Lewis's books and you get that out of it. Now, back earlier this year, Greta Gerwig was asked about this, and I actually think she had a great response. Greta Gerwig reveals she feels intimidated by her next project, the Chronicles of Narnia adaptation for Netflix. As a non-British person, I feel a particular sense of wanting to do it correctly. It's like when Americans do Shakespeare, if there's a slight feeling of reverence, as if maybe we should treat it with extra care. It's not our countrymen. That's great. I think that's great that she feels a great sense of reverence and that wants to do it the right way. I don't think that a very new take and it's all about rock and roll necessarily means doing it the right way. It seems the opposite of doing it the right way for a lot of people. could just be yet another franchise IP beloved work of fiction that gets absolutely annihilated by modern day Hollywood. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.